Hello, everybody in Facebook. This is Brenda Gammons. I am here to say hello, number one, to all the young kids that I truly love. And I hope I've been a pretty positive encouragement in your life. I've tried nothing but, I don't actually try, it just comes naturally. I love to send out love and help those who think they're hopeless and helpless, because usually what the world throws away is actually the greatest treasures of all, because I was once kind of tossed into the world and given a number in prison and all that good, great stuff that the world thinks fixes people. Just if you can't fix them, just take the broken ones and send them off to the institutions that keep people rich, the multi-million-dollar corporations that just keep getting richer off of taking young kids and putting them away. I was actually 18 when I first went to prison for petty theft with a prior. Toothpaste, dental floss, and a pair of baby slippers, and I'll never forget, because when I got sentenced to 3 years and 8 months, there was a gentleman who got 3 years for involuntary manslaughter and for killing a man and his wife. So, you go figure. I kind of don't understand the laws, and to this day I don't. And it's actually designed to keep people under, I guess, what they call control, because I was involved in religion and all that stuff too, which was a good thing because it was part of my awakening in my spiritual walk. But I've grown quite a bit. Now I'm clean and sober off of heroin, methadone, alcohol, and all the good stuff. But God has been graceful and very, very patient with me. And he sent me my best friend, Robert Gammons, who has truly, truly been a big inspiration in my life. I've watched him for 16 years. Many things happened in between those years that it's not important, but through those years I did watch him. And he's the most, I would say, the closest thing to Jesus of what the Bible speaks about that I've ever seen. He's a man of compassion. He doesn't judge. He's great wisdom. I watched that man read the scriptures from front to back, day in and day out, after working 2 jobs, trying to support his daughter and me, and watching me go through crazy parts of my life, which now he's at a point in his life where he truly needs someone to take care of him, and so that's what I'm here for. I was a mess when he first met me. Actually, I was very abusive verbally. I hated the world. I didn't trust anybody. It took me actually almost 16 years to trust again, because I'd been so screwed. And I'm not doing this as a sympathy thing. I don't ask for sympathy from anybody, because I believe behind choices comes actions. And universal law is cause and effect. What you send out is what you get back. And sometimes, things we give out in love, they don't come back right away. Sometimes it takes a long time, but you know what? The universe doesn't ever lose track. It's always keeping track and keeping tabs on everything we do. But I had an encounter with Creator back in 2012, and I was addicted to methadone at the time, and Rob was going through some serious emotional things. He had been beaten in a prison, actually, which was all covered up. But if he would have not been a Christian, I believe he would have not allowed this person to even touch him, but things happened. But we know now it was all for the reason for him to finally wake up and realize what's going on in the planet. Which, when I was in prison, I thought, being that I was raped as a child from my own father, which, again, I love my dad, loved him dearly. I've never blamed him for anything. Actually, I have forgiven him from every time it happened, and I'm not saying this for an excuse or for mercy or pity from anybody, because you know what we go through is what makes us who we are. So, but being that I'd already been kind of screwed up in the head when I went to prison, I was raped multiple times also by a correctional officer. And finally, a friend of mine, Mary Helen, I knew her from Woodlake School. She was the chaplain's clerk, happened to be there on some stupid things. And I told her about what was going on, and she said I needed to do something. Long story short, I did. She helped me out, went to the investigators. Well, nothing was done. Eventually, the cop was taken and put in another institution, but that was it. But what I'm saying is, it's still going on. Even when I got out of prison, I was being followed home from work and raped by an off-duty officer. And come to find out, I'm 51 years old now, and I was 18, 19, 20, early 20s when all this continuously took place, because once you're in the system and you're on parole, you don't get off. if you don't have an address and don't have a job. It's just a system that keeps you going back, which keeps them making money off of every inmate. So what I'm trying to say is, to this day, the institutions are still corrupt. Lies are being said. People are being incarcerated for reasons such as, marijuana, which is really crazy. I believe the government's the only reason why they get mad about people dealing drugs or doing things that, like prostitution, for instance. If a woman chooses to sell her body, I find there's nothing wrong with that. If there's two consensual adults and they're willing to exchange money for herself or however it goes, there's nothing wrong with that. But what's wrong with it in the government's eyes is they can't tax you. They can't get anything out of it, so they make it illegal. So if you don't do what they say, they find a way. And once you're in the system, you guys, you best do what you can to get off, or you're going to literally top off. I did 3 years and 8 months, and then they rolled me over to a 4-year parole tail, which I ended up doing later also. So most of my life was, young life was in prison, in and out on the streets. I left home at 16. I had 3 children. I have 4 now, but I had 3 at the time, and I'm not going to go into all that because, I don't call them mistakes. I just call them poor judgment was made on my end. But actually, when a creator came to me in 2012, I said to him in a conversation, I said, well, God, I'm not as bad as my brother. I haven't committed murder. And he said, oh, yes, you have, 3-4 times. Well, the only one that knew that I had had these abortions besides people close to me was Creator. And to this day, I don't know if it was 3 or 4. So God knew it was 3 or 4, and that was never revealed to me. But he said, basically he told me, why am I judging? Because I was a murderer myself. I had created babies, and I had taken their lives. But what I'm saying is, trying to light my cigarette. Hold on. It's up. Just 1 second. I'm going to pause it, but when I do that, I don't know how to get it going again and do all that stuff. But Creator told me that I was a murderer too, just like my brother. And there was no difference. The only thing that matters with Creator is when it comes to doing things that people say are right or wrong, it's not even about that. He asked me what were my intentions with everything that I did in my life when I felt like I was so bad and I had created such terrible sins that the church taught me. And he asked me, what were my intentions? Did I ever intend to hurt anybody? And you know what? I said no, because I've never intentionally ever, not that I can ever remember, intended to hurt anybody with my actions, ever. I'm not saying I'm perfect or Mother Teresa or anything like that, but I do have a pure heart, and I do love to the fullest. And I've just always had compassion for animals. My home is just full of nothing but safari things. I've just been really closely connected to animals all my life. I can talk to animals telepathically. I can actually hear things telepathically now since 2012. I've had many encounters, and I've done some things online to help people out. And I believe when you're given a gift, it's never to be sold or even exchanged for anything. It's free and freely given, and should be freely given to someone else. But actually, it wasn't exactly free. Every gift comes with a high price, and I don't believe we get our gifts until we're mature enough to get them, so we don't end up hurting ourselves or others in the process. But I don't even know why I'm doing this show today, but something told me to, and here I am. Robert's upstairs in bed, where he spends most of his time since the injury and the seizures have taken place. But actually, I want to tell all you kids out there, the ones that are involved in gangs and whatnot, that, you know what? I love you. And so does Creator. And this world is really being destroyed as we speak. You guys are being brainwashed to consume and consume, and to buy and compete and compete. And he ain't good enough, or she ain't good enough. You guys are killing each other over clothing, over colors, over hand signs. Well, I have one. It's LOVE. So those are my hand signs. So if you ever see me doing this in the hood, I'm telling you I love you. And people are dying behind signs. People are dying behind colors. People are dying behind silliness, only because you guys are being brainwashed with the music, television, commercials. I really wish you guys would listen to your hearts, because if you don't do something, it's going to get worse. Because my generation and my parents' generation, we really weren't aware of what was going on, because we were so busy trying to provide and, give our kids the things that they needed. I didn't have an education. So I never went past the 8th grade. So what I did was I used what I had, and I used myself. I used my body. I became a stripper, first a cocktail waitress, then a stripper, topless dancer. And I worked with Jenna Jameson in Las Vegas. I had a boss named Vinny who was very awesome. But then again, he was awesome with me at Crazy Horse too, because I was very, very honest. I really tipped out to the last cent. You give him so much percentage of what you make, and he truly respected me, and I respected him. And again, in my life, I got what I gave, and they gave what I gave back. I tried ecstasy for the first time in my life, and I ended up doing something that wasn't, acceptable when Vinny was on vacation. So the next day I went to work to realize that I had lost my job for doing something silly. But I've been rich, I've been poor, and actually I've had a lot of money, and I've never even tried to be rich, and I've never been materialistic. I don't buy designer things and name brand stuff, and I've never been into that, because it just doesn't move me, and I can't see spending $100 for a purse when you can actually take $10 and go to Ross or DD's or someplace like that, and buy something for 1/10 of the price, and you could take that other money and buy something more resourceful, like maybe a pair of shoes for someone who doesn't have any, or give somebody a $5 bill or a $10 bill or whatever on the corner. And people do that too. They judge people on the corner, and I tell people, you don't know where they've been. So until you've put their shoes on literally, don't judge, because everything I've judged in my life has came back to me, not intentionally judging, but just making a comment like about something that I didn't feel was right in my eyes. Well, what's right for one isn't always right for the other. And we just need to learn to love, is what I'm asking you kids to do. I see a lot of hate on my Facebook, and there's a lot of things I have to take off. And I've been called a witch, I've been called fake, I've been called so many things, but that's okay, because you all are entitled to your opinions. We all have those. But I've learned that hate comes from within a person's self. Jealousy it stems from insecurity. When women don't like themselves, they talk about others. Same thing with men. And when you lash out with hate, that means you really hate yourself. And if you're gossiping about others, it's because you don't, again, like yourself. Because a person who's absolutely content and in love with themselves, they have nothing but good to talk about. And I've learned that if you have nothing but mean things to say about people, don't say anything, because people think they look really cool talking about others. But don't you think those people are thinking as soon as you leave them, you're going to go talk about them? Well, I learned a valuable lesson, guys. You're God. We're all God. We have His very DNA. And we are creators. Whatever we think and speak actually becomes. So if you have mean things to say about people, you're only talking that into your own life. If you hurt someone else, you might as well just take a knife and cut yourself, because you're only bringing that back to yourself. Disease is caused from dis-ease. That's when you're out of balance. And that's with nature and animals and every living thing, plants, everything has consciousness. Everything is alive. So the next time you see somebody that's not as fortunate as you, actually most of the times you kids walk around like you're greater than everybody else, but you didn't work for those clothes. You didn't work for that phone. Most times your parents are out there working hard while you're so ungrateful and don't even care. And you just expect, and you talk about others less fortunate. Well, until you really start supporting and providing for yourself, you have no room to talk about anybody else. So this is a real brief part 1. I will do a part 2, part 3, and I'll just continue going on, giving you little bits of information about me and about what I think we need to do to save the planet. But until then, I'm going to close for now. because I'm running out of time here. I love you guys. Namaste. And everybody on Facebook, I love you. And stay good. Stay close to Creator. Love one another. Peace.